It happened about a year ago. I moved into a new house after a really rough time in my life. Starting fresh with a new job and a new home, I knew things were changing for the better. At least I thought they were. This was my first time living alone. The house I was moving into was very old. It was a white house overgrown along the front with green vines, which blocked the sun going through the windows. The inside was lived in and quite dark, but I knew with a bit of time this would feel like a home. My first day in the house was spent setting up the furniture and unpacking boxes. After a couple of hours, I had my bed set up and I was ready for a rest. I fell backwards on the bed, exhausted, and started staring at the ceiling, noticing something I'd never seen before: a manhole in the ceiling. The cover had a hole in the side, so you could see right up into the ceiling, but it was so dark up there you really couldn't see anything. I took no notice to it and closed my eyes and fell asleep. I awoke later to a noise. It sounded like someone breathing. I was so scared I couldn't move. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. The breathing was getting heavier by the seconds. I was shaking and I felt cold. I didn't know if I should just get up and run out or whether this was some sort of sleep paralysis and it would soon pass. My eyes were rolling from side to side, waiting for someone to reach up from under the bed and grab me. The breathing became louder and faster. And then I moved my eyes upwards towards the hole in the ceiling, and that's when I saw it. A bloodshot eye peering down at me, the person staring directly at me, breathing heavily and panting. It was angry looking, and it was so focused on me that I could see its eyelids twitching as they were stretched so wide. I got up as fast as I could and I ran out of the bedroom, grabbed my phone, and left the house. I called the police, who arrived soon afterwards. I'd stayed outside while the police went into the home. About 10 minutes later, an officer came out and asked me to go into the car so he could speak to me. He sat next to me and turned to my face and looked at me. He looked scared and his face was pale, like all the blood had been washed out of it. He started to ask me questions about the house. How long have I been there? And was anyone else living there with me? I told him it was my first night and I was there alone. The officer told me that he and his partner had entered the roof. They found someone up there, but he wasn't alive. It looked as though he'd been up there for quite some time. What they told me next sent shivers down my spine. The officer told me the man was found tangled in some cords in the roof space. One of them was wrapped tightly around his neck, choking him to death. I felt like I couldn't breathe. What was he looking at me for? Was he a ghost? Was this some sort of a ghost replaying its death over and over? And why was it staring at me? Still to this day, I don't know what it was that was looking at me that night, and I really don't want to know. I try to forget what happened, but every time I try to sleep, I can hear the heavy breathing, and every time I hear it, it feels like it's getting closer.